Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome to a hot and sunny Road America. Up next on track is a group of 30 cars from the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship. This is a competition against the clock where cars and drivers compete against each other and time itself. The fastest lap of the weekend across 6 sessions on track determines the winner. GRIDLIFE is a Chicago-based racing and festival organization hosting events across the country featuring racing, time attack, drifting, and music. Each car you're about to see is built, maintained, and driven by its owner, all competing in 7 competition classes. Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined in the booth now by Austin Cobb, one of our GLTC competitors this weekend. It didn't go to plan for Austin, but welcome aboard Time Attack. This is a real fun competition, Austin. 7 different competition classes at Road America, one of the fastest and most formidable tracks in North America.
Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. This is an absolutely insanely fast track, even in a slower car like my GLTC Miata, but it is very formidable. It'll put the fear in you, and these guys have been getting after it and doing a great job. Can't wait to see what they got.
Yeah, so we had some track records fall earlier today, and that's really the goal here in Time Attack, is to set track records in one of our 7 classes. And those range from classes like Sunday Cup, which is racing basically stock Honda fits, all the way up to unlimited class Corvettes that make 1,200 horsepower and go crazy fast. There's basically something for everybody. So if you have a car, it probably fits in a Time Attack class. But the new pavement this weekend has kind of been a double-edged sword. It's sticky and grippy in some places, Austin, but maybe not in others, and drivers have been adjusting to that all weekend long.
Yeah, absolutely. I only got a few laps out there. The racing line itself felt fantastic, but even doing a little bit of testing offline, it's a little greasier, a little less grip there. Not as much of an issue for Time Attack, but it can still come into play at any moment. You go half a car width offline, and next thing you know, you're having a moment.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of times in Time Attack here, we have 30 cars. This is a non-points event for Time Attack here this weekend because this is a kind of a curated field. We can only get 30 cars in alongside our 40-plus car GLTC field. So non-points for these drivers here this weekend, but this is the first time they've raced here in GRIDLIFE since 2021. So everyone's kind of adjusting. A lot of builds have changed since then, and these cars are mostly built and maintained and driven by their owners, Austin, and that brings a different dimension to racing a car on the racetrack, knowing that if you wad it up, you're the one that's going to have to fix it, and that probably changes your mindset, I'm sure, every time you go on a track this big and this fast.
Well, I may not be the best use case for that since I larried my car right off the track in practice and unfortunately ended my weekend. But, yeah, it's definitely something that's in your head, you know. I mean, even from the standpoint of not wanting to lose time, not wanting to mess up the setup you already had, you know, if you can rest between sessions and just do some basic maintenance and get your head in the game, you know, that's huge. If you're wrenching away all weekend and wrenching away between weekends, I mean, we're going to Mid-Ohio next weekend. So, I mean, that could be huge if you got to slave away on your car all week.
Yeah, certainly. You don't want to be working on your car next week because we're going to Mid-Ohio, which is a points round for us, as Jackie Ding streaks by the start-finish line in his TA90 Toyota Supra from PhD Racing. For those that aren't familiar with Jackie Ding's car, it's the red Toyota Supra right now entering turn number 1. Now, this car has broken records all over North America, both in GRIDLIFE and Super Lap Battle. Makes north of 600 horsepower in kill mode, which is their high tune. He told me that this car's retired. If they blow it up this weekend, okay, it's just going to sit in their shop and look pretty for the rest of its life. So they're just out here having fun with it. He already broke the track modified record, which was set back a couple years ago, I believe in 2018, with Jeremy Swenson at the time running a real fast Z06 Corvette, but he's transitioned over to GLTC. So that record is sat for a couple years, and Jackie has already pipped it so far in that 600-plus horsepower Toyota Supra. Pretty quick.
And we could see him right there in turn 5 using every bit of that 600 horsepower, getting a nice little power slide on exit. And I was talking to Jackie earlier. We were watching the first GLTC race. He says the M4, or is it M2 or M4?
M2.
M2 is getting a livery, an aero, and some changes right now. So, you know, he already turned the Supra into an absolute monster. The man drives with absolutely no fear, and can't wait to see what he does with that M2.
Yeah, he's really a wild behind the wheel. It's fun to watch. He puts that Super right on the limit. He's also got his alter ego, Jimmy Diggs. That's who's behind the wheel here this weekend. That's usually, if Jackie's running a second car, that's the name that he'll use here. But in a retired car, can't have Jackie Ding driving it. Jimmy Diggs behind the wheel as he heads through the kink. Is such a fast corner in a car like this that has quite a bit of downforce. And this is downforce that they've built and generated on their own as part of the engineering piece of the street modified class, Austin. You can put up to 2 aero components on your car, which means you can have a diffuser, a splitter, and a wing, but you got to only pick two. So Jackie's gone with the wing and the splitter on this particular car. But such a neat category that you can develop aero on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a more engineer brain kind of person and you really like building, that stuff's an absolute riot. And then you can, maybe somebody will come out with a Peugeot-esque build and forego the wing in favor of a diffuser. I don't think we've seen anybody doing that, but hey, you can do what you want.
2:15, 9:52, which is not his best lap of the weekend, but not far off of it. Across the stripe behind him, the thundering Corvette down the front straightaway, Ernestus Pizzellis in the 338. Now, Ernestus is building that Corvette to kind of what I would consider mini Ferris Khartoumi build. Now, if you're familiar with GRIDLIFE TrackBattle, there's a 1,600 horsepower Corvette driven by a driver named Ferris Khartoumi. It's traveling the world right now in all sorts of time attack competitions, but when it was here in 2021, it set a 2:02 around this racetrack, and it trapped at 184 miles an hour on the back straightaway. Ernestus's car is not that far off of it in terms of prep, so really quick, that 338 car in Unlimited, a 2:16 454, which as far as the Unlimited rear-wheel drive record is concerned, he smashed that earlier in the weekend. So pretty unbelievable times we're seeing out of a driver like him.
Yeah, I mean, every year the field is getting stronger and stronger in every class, all up and down the field. Builds are getting sharpened every year. You can look at what other people are doing, and it really never is going to end. You're just going to keep finding more and more time out there, driver development, car development, everything. These guys are amazing. They're really putting it all out there.
Yeah, the Unlimited category in particular, if you're watching the timing and scoring tower on the broadcast or the trackside jumbotrons here, the red is for Unlimited. Now, that's a class where basically the only rule is that the car has to start life with a VIN number. After that, you can basically do anything. And just to preface that with Ernestus Pizzellis is in a Corvette. David Calzada behind him is in a K24 Miata. So that's an engine from a Honda swapped into that Mazda Miata chassis, and that thing rips. And he's only about 5 seconds off of Ernestus right now in a completely different kind of car.
Yeah, turning a 221 in a Honda-powered Miata is absolutely absurd. I mean, you think about GLTC, we're turning very, very high 229s at the pointy end of the field. And, I mean, to go that much faster in a Miata is insane. What a guy.
It's pretty wild. And so just behind that is a couple of our street mod competitors. Those are the teal drivers on the timing and scoring. 4th and 5th right now overall in this 30-driver session. Ryan Matthews and Cal Fortner, as Ernestus Pizzellis just does a 2:12.733, which is the fastest lap he's done so far this weekend. That is really quick for Ernestus. So he just bedded in some new brakes, and he's going for furthering that Unlimited rear-wheel drive record here as he heads down the hill towards turn number 3. So the street modified class, though, by the way, that is a class we've talked about where you can develop your own aero, you can add a ton of power. And the top 2 cars in that class right now, Ryan Matthews and then Cal Fortner. And Cal Fortner is in a Mercedes-AMG GTS. Really cool car. Good starting point for a class like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful car. Got a nice little livery on it. I don't know anybody that's not a fan of the AMG GTS. That's a gorgeous car. Sounds awesome. Looks awesome. And, he's really putting down some pretty good lap times there. I mean, we are in the heat of the day. The track conditions cannot be favorable at the moment. I'm sure everybody right now is just trying to get even more track time, try to find every little bit they can, get that data, and then be ready to throw down tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. And again, cool temperatures, cool track temp, cool ambient temp. That's where you're going to find your fastest laps, as you mentioned, especially on this pavement that is still very dark because it's new pavement, and that gets hot and slick pretty easily when it gets toasty out there. So keep an eye on some other cars out there. Sterling Cole in 3rd place overall right now. That's the number 131. That is one of our it's a Super Unlimited car, which Super Unlimited is the only class in GRIDLIFE where there are no rules. You can show up with anything you want. Doesn't have to have a VIN number. You can bring old stock cars. You can bring FIA GT3 cars that don't have VIN numbers. Anything you want to bring, you can run in Super Unlimited. Not a class that we track points in because there's not typically a lot of those. But again, non-points weekend, so everyone's just here enjoying their time on track. If you've seen that yellow and black Porsche Cayman on track, that's Kyle Magnuson. Now, Kyle has had an interesting story. He was at Barber Motorsports Park a couple of weeks ago, and that car ended up upside down in a gravel trap. They rolled it back over, and he still finished on the podium as he rolls through turn 8 right now. It's got some marks on the roof, but it's still good to go, Austin.
I'll tell you what, that car looks better than mine, and mine's always stayed on all fours, so I don't know. That's a pretty good job. I did see pictures of that, and pretty wild. I think he even went back out after that and went faster.
Yes, he did, and he ended up on the podium for the weekend in our Barber event here for the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship. And again, this weekend our format is fastest lap of the weekend in your class is what will win you the weekend here in Track Battle. Of course, we'll have GRIDLIFE Touring Cup coming up next, which is our wheel-to-wheel racing series. And that, of course, is racing as you know it, where the driver that finishes first is your race winner. A couple cars peeling off at turn number 5. Just saw Luca Barberis pulling off. That's a street class Mitsubishi Evo. And street, you can run all-wheel drive. You can have big turbos up to a certain flow rate. Brad Perkins just stormed by the start-finish line and just put himself third overall at a 2:19.049.
Yeah, no, I also saw a yellow RX-8. There he goes. He just went flying by. And it's actually a pretty cool little team there. I was talking to him last night. That chassis is apparently actually a Mustang chassis.
Really?
Tube-frame Mustang
chassis.
Oh,
yes.
And the only part of it that's actually RX-7 is the roof. The rest of it is just, composite materials or whatever it is. But super cool car. It's got a turbo on it that's bigger than the 13B motor in it, just about. And it just sounds absolutely absurd. Weighs about as much as my Miata, so 2,300 pounds with the driver in it. And about 500 wheel horsepower, they said.
That's a lot of power. That's really cool. Ravi Tamerlin, by the way, if you've seen that pink Acura NSX zipping around, that is Ravi Tamerlin in the number 480. Now, that is a K24 Acura NSX. Those cars came with a V6 from factory. It's got an inline 4, also sourced from Honda, but big turbos on that. That thing rips as well, a 226.279 for Ravi. 10th on the timing and scoring sheet right now. As running by the front straightaway just a moment ago was Peter Granberg in our Falcon Club TR class. Here's Falcon Club TR explained.
GRIDLIFE Falcon Club TR, an enthusiast class designed for lightweight 4-cylinder cars, front and rear-wheel drive. All cars must have engines under 2.5 liters or less than 1.6 liters if it's turbocharged. Engine internals must remain factory. A 3-inch splitter and a rear wing are allowed. All cars run on the same Falcon RT660 tires, making this class one of 2 spec tire categories. While engine swaps and limited aero are allowed, it's common to see relatively stock cars drop into this class, like the Subaru BRZ, Toyota GR86, Honda Civic, or Honda S2000.
And that Falcon Club TR category has been one of the most popular classes in GRIDLIFE Track Battle competition the last couple of years. And one of the unique parts about that class, Austin, is that's on the official tire of GRIDLIFE Track Battle, which is the Falcon RT660. Now, in Time Attack in general, there's not necessarily spec tires. There's a selection that you can choose in a certain treadwear zone, but Falcon Club TR in particular is a spec tire category, which means that everyone's on the same tire. It's the level playing field in that regard, and you're left just with the chassis and the engine to play with.
Yeah, I actually really love that. Spec tire is, it takes some of the less fun parts of competing out of it. In GLTC, we're all constantly assessing what tire is going to be the best for the class. Personally, I love the Falcon RT660. A lot of my peers don't much appreciate it, but it is a fantastic tire, has a lot of grip, comes in really early, and it wears like iron, at least on my car. So it's a great tire, and I love to see that for them. It lets them focus more on their driving and on the moderate amount of modifications they can do.
Yeah, certainly. And there's also some cars that drop in relatively stock. For example, on our screen right now, coming into the shot from the left as he pulls off track is Nehru Chetty, who's in a GR Corolla. Now, that is a car that when it came into the category, everyone goes, oh, this is going to be a wild overdog. But actually, it's actually fit pretty nicely into the class from factory as is without any modifications. But there are some front runners here in the category that are not here this weekend. Dana Basinski runs a K-Swap Subaru BRZ in this class and is up right now leading the category as far as Club TR is concerned. So a really interesting class. We have 7 of them, again, ranging from Honda Fits all the way to crazy horsepower cars. There's another car out here, though, that hasn't gotten a lot of laps, and that's James Clay in the 336, a heavily modified BMW M4. James is known all over the IMSA and SRO paddock for being a pro driver, runs GT4 competition, but he's here with us running Track Battle for the first time this weekend, so we're really excited about them being here. And Nick Kors, who has yet to turn a lap in this session, but Nick actually won TrackBattle Street Modified at Watkins Glen in a front-wheel drive Honda Civic, which is the first time that it happened since 2017 where a front-wheel drive car had won in that class. That's pretty impressive stuff.
That's amazing. He must have really been making use of the front-wheel drive conditions.
Yes, and by that it was very rainy at Watkins Glen. You see now Cal Fortner's Mercedes-AMG GTS rolling on the racetrack, and Cal's got his parents here this weekend cheering him on from the sidelines, and what a cool car that is. If you're trying to drop into a time attack class, starting with something such as a Mercedes-AMG is going to put you ahead of the curve because of how well those things are already tuned for motorsports competition. They share a lot of parts with the GT4 car in particular. You can clip the carbon front bumper from one of those right on. So just really unique car. Some aero that they've put on that car as well to make it go pretty quick. And right now, second in Street Mod in this session. We'll see if he can find a couple seconds and knock Ryan Matthews off the top.
Yeah, that's wild. That's really something to think about. You know, for anybody looking into time attack, the car you start with is huge. And, you know, if you just start with the car you have, like I did with my Miata, you sometimes find yourself in a position where you end up spending more money than you would have if you just started with a different car. So that's really the first place to start. And, you know, you might not think, oh, Mercedes, that's not a logical choice, but it really could be. You never know.
And maybe there's a factor of the car being under-stressed as well in some instances. That's certainly been true in GLTC, picking cars that already kind of start above the performance level you need and tuning it down versus trying to build a car up. So there's definitely some strategy to picking a car. And while you can basically run whatever you want, there are better base platforms than others across the board here in TrackBattle and in our Touring Cup series. So again, you can run whatever you want. I think there's about 22 different vehicle manufacturers represented in TrackBattle this season, so there's certainly no shortage of options, but which ones are competitive might be a little less, but still lots of different cars up near the front. So Ernestus Pizzella still fastest here in the session with a 212.7, Jimmy Diggs at a 215.9, then Brad Perkins up there in the number 27, the Chicane Motorsport car. Then Cole, Gardner, Calzada, Matthews, Bertulis, Fortner, and Corey Ross in the number 437. That's a blue and white BMW. He's come out with us a couple times, PPIR in Pikes Peak Alpine Horizon Festival last season, and joined us here at Road America. And how could you not at a weekend like this with NASCAR Austin? Everybody wanted to jump on this opportunity.
Oh, man, I think this event sold out almost instantly. I know I bought my ticket right when it posted, and I think there were already like 30 entries for GLTC. It was pretty wild.
Oh, trouble turn 3. That's Peter Granberg has gone off at the exit of turn 3 and is slowing down and pulling back on course. I wonder if he just got understeer and went off course there, Austin?
Yeah, I would guess so. You know, again, I only got a handful of laps, but turn 3, it's that thing where, you know, you're pushing the entry, you're trying to see just how much you can trail brake the car down to apex, and if you miss the apex and you get out into that non-rubbered-in asphalt and you're already coming in too hot, yeah, you might just have to straighten it up a little bit, take it out in the grass, and bring it back on.
Yeah, so let's see if Peter heads for home here. He's got his fist out the window, which is the universal on-track sign that he's coming back to the paddock area, so he should go straight off at turn number 5, and yes, he will return to the paddock here at Road America. Down into turn 1, looks like Cal Fortner's on another flyer. We'll see him enter the shot from the right in 3, 2, 1. There he is, and not using a lot of curbing on exit. I was told that they paved a little extra curb at the end where that you see the striping kind of turn black there. That's a new curb, Austin, and I was told that's real rough out there.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. If that's the famous one that Scotty
yes.
ramps off of in Indy, yeah, you don't want to be out there. I know I saw Coutil in the last race ran super wide on turn 1 and then moved back a few positions, and I'm wondering if he didn't get into it, but knew he had to not get into it and gave a lot of time up.
Yes.
That's what it looked like.
It's certainly your ride height's going to affect how much of that curb you can take as well. Cal Fortner through turn 5 under his Bertulis. He's been getting his track time worth this weekend. He has been on track every moment he can in that Lexus RCF. Real unique vehicle, pretty heavy, big, powerful. Maybe not the lightest on its feet around here, but it's got brute force and muscle. That's kind of good for a track like Road America.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's, as someone said earlier, you know, Road America is not the, what's the logo? The House of Speed.
The National Park of Speed.
National
House
Park.
of Speed.
Somebody said the National Park. It's not the National Park of Turns.
No.
It's the National Park of Speed. So yeah,
the House of Speed is Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas,
yes,
which we did our finale at last year.
But yeah, that Lexus, I saw it rolling around paddock. Super cool car. I love seeing different things. That's the crutch of my existence is I can't just jump in the C5 Corvette train. I want something cool. Like, every day I'm like, could I build an RX-8?
Yeah.
Could I build a Lexus
Yeah.
SC300?
Destructive thoughts, huh?
Yeah. So don't be like me, people. Yeah, but that Lexus, super cool, very unique. You never see them out there. Gives me those Lexus GT3 vibes,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah, really neat looking car as Cal Fortner works his way through Canada corner on his way back to the stripe. Looks like Andreas has kind of backed it down for a moment, so he'll be on a cool down lap. And the other thing is folks might be standing trackside wondering, okay, where'd all the cars go? There was 30 that took times. There's only a couple on the track now. These cars aren't built to run a full session. These cars are built to run one lap, maybe two, and then come back to pit lane. They will turn these things up to 11, run them hot, run them fast, and they're going to overheat in a lap or two. That's all you need to do to get a good lap time in order to win your class, your competition. So you're not racing. It's not based on how long you're out there. It's based on how quick you can do one lap. That's all that we take. So if you run your quick lap, just head back to pit lane and conserve the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in the upper classes of time attack where you're just pushing as much power as you can, bigger turbo, more compression. You're really just you're not building an endurance car here. You got to build something that can go out and get it done, one and done.
Yeah, there are some cars that literally will run one lap, and we talked about Ferris Khartoumi in that crazy 1,000-plus horsepower Corvette. He's not here because he's doing some stuff internationally, but that car, before he raced on slicks, he would just go out, do one lap, and come back in. And if he didn't get his lap, it was over. And James Houghton, who used to run Time Attack, he runs in GLTC now, has always said, we don't, if we come away second, we don't get that record, then all the hours and weeks and months that you spend in the garage optimizing your vehicle, optimizing the aerodynamics, it's all for nothing if you don't get that track record or win your class. If you don't do those two things, you failed at your mission. And that makes this a very intense kind of competition. While racing is intense in its own right, as far as track battle goes, usually there's no one to blame but yourself, or I guess your car, if you don't meet those lofty expectations of breaking a record or beating everyone in your class. And again, with a smaller field here this weekend, you don't have quite the depth of competition in any individual class, but Club TR, for example, we get 25, 30 cars in that class. It is extremely tight to beat anyone else in that category. To come out on top is really impressive.
Yeah, and those cars are they're kind of more in the realm of, many of them are probably built in a way that they can run a ton of laps, which is perfect. If you're, it might not be an entry-level time attack class, but it's a little bit slower, or not slower, but lower performance threshold. And if you could build a car like, say, a KBRZ or K86, something that can just turn out lap after lap after lap, then you can focus more on your driving. Go out there, get some driver coaching, and then maybe start moving up the ranks and maybe start dialing the car into that razor's edge where you can just go out, one and done that lap, win your class, set a record, and there you go.
Yeah, we mentioned a couple of records that have already fallen this weekend, especially in the track modified class. Again, Jeremy Swenson's long-standing record broken this morning by Jackie Ding in the Supra. Jamie Santos is out on track in a very unique BMW. This is a cool car in street modified, Austin, as it heads up the hill. He drives the heck out of this thing. It's fun to watch. Short wheelbase BMW, this 1 Series, and it's a very cool looking car. And he's working his way through turns 6 and 7 right now.
I'm going to be honest, that's another car on my short list for another GLTC build, 128i or something like that.
Yep.
Very much the old IMSA vibes, or maybe it was even Grand Am.
Oh.
I don't remember.
We have a Wasp friend hanging out with us, and Jamie scared him away. Big
Whoa.
slide at the exit at turn 8. He had that thing hung out sideways for a long time. Good airtime on that one.
I don't think he's running time attack. He's here for the fans.
Yeah, and actually, so we mentioned earlier that GRIDLIFE weekends typically involve 3 different types of on-track. TrackBattle, which you're watching now, GLTC, which is upcoming racing, and also Drift. And Jamie looked a whole lot more like he's part of that Drift group than the time attack group just a moment ago, but through the kink. Watch out for those rumbles on corner exit, and then the run down to Canada corner, which is unique, Austin, because the braking zone starts right as you straighten out the car to hit the binders for that tight turn.
Yeah, it's really on the run from the kink to Canada, you kind of wind from one side of the track to the other because you do want to kind of set up that straight line into Canada. If you're exactly hugged up against track left, you kind of give yourself this weird entry, and the faster your car gets, the more weird it's going to get.
Yeah, certainly. And just a couple minutes left here in this track battle session. So last couple drivers getting their times in here. Jamie heads up the front straightaway under this bridge camera. Love this trackside shot. Again, if you're not familiar with GRIDLIFE, we do broadcast almost all of our major rounds this season. We'll be broadcasting from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course next week and typically have more manned cameras and drone coverage and all sorts of things. But this weekend, working with some excellent trackside cameras that Road America has provided us to allow us to bring you something at home if you're not here with us at the racetrack. So a huge thanks to Road America and their kindness and opportunity to help us put this together. They've been a great help so far this weekend, just getting something for the fans at home to watch and for fans trackside to enjoy on the jumbotrons around this massive facility. And we mentioned it's the National Park of Speed, but I call this place the Jurassic Park of motorsports. You can get lost in the woods here and just hear nothing but race engines, and that to me is a special experience that you can't do many other places.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually haven't got to experience that yet. I mean, when I was here in 2021, it was just a hectic weekend. The car actually ran and did not get crashed the entire time on that one. But yeah, after we're done here, that was kind of my plan. Go walk around in the woods, find some new corners, watch Porsche Cup and Xfinity whenever they manage to make it out on track, and just enjoy it because, man, this place is absolutely beautiful. The weather is as good as you could ask for. We had a threat of rain, but it doesn't look like it's moving in, knock on wood, at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. It's looking good so far today. There was a storm overnight, so everyone had to kind of batten down the hatches a little bit. But track's been great today. I heard this morning that it had quite a bit of grip, maybe even more than drivers were expecting. Maybe the rain had washed some rubber off. But the race this morning was great. Very competitive. We're looking forward to doing more of that here in a little while. Already some of the GLTC cars getting ready to grid, and we will have a very short break at the conclusion of the session to set up for our next 15-minute sprint with cars like minivans and TSXs and S2000s racing together all in one class in a 15-minute sprint. That's the magic of GLTC, which is our racing category, and we're thrilled to put it on display for you here this weekend at Road America.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the Turn 5 stands were going wild for that Hart Honda Odyssey, and, those are my boys out of Alabama representing, so people are going wild for you. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah, that's the Hart Alabama crew, and their whole goal with that was to show people that it doesn't matter what you got, you can race it. And it's really just a fun side project for that Honda Manufacturing of Alabama plant. They've run in SRO as recently as last year, I believe, but they've got this 2018 Honda Odyssey that they've set up for GLTC, and you can actually see it now on the camera just in the distance. It's about to head to grid just beyond that silver pickup truck there. But it is a 2018 Honda Odyssey with the 10-speed automatic that comes in the car and the stock V6. And basically they've roll caged it, put a cool suit unit in it, and that's basically it, other than some suspension and brake modifications to slow that thing down. And I was told earlier that the brakes were glowing going into Turn 5 in the daylight. So that thing is it's one of the heaviest vehicles in GLTC and one of the most powerful, but it takes a lot to slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got to be like at least 3,500-pound vehicle, if not maybe closer to 4,000. That's a lot of vehicle to wheel around in a wheel-to-wheel class, but I mean, it's super awesome. Everybody loves to see it. It's a crowd pleaser, crowd favorite, and can't wait to see them out there some more. Hopefully they have a good long weekend of clean racing.
Race fans, thanks for joining us here. Stand out there by that Optima trailer, and I see a couple of you waving out there. Thanks for being there. It is hot. Make sure you guys stay hydrated here this weekend. Appreciate you all being trackside with us and enjoying the beautiful summer day here at Road America, the National Park of Speed. What an amazing racetrack to have nearby if you're from around here. So pleased to have GRIDLIFE with you guys here this weekend and show you guys what we're all about. Motorsports inclusion. Run what you brung. Tune it, drive it, build it, use it, and that's what we're all about here at GRIDLIFE. So if you haven't seen the GRIDLIFE paddock space on your way out tonight, or even after this telecast, this broadcast here, head on down by the tunnel leaving the racetrack. We are on the right, and you can check out all the cars, the drivers. I'm sure they'll be thrilled to take you through and show you the insides of some of these amazingly built homebrew race cars.
Yeah, absolutely. People love talking about their race cars. It's like talking about your kids, It's like, some of us, race car and dogs is what we got, and they'll talk your ear off all day. There's a lot of great builds in that paddock, and people, I mean, they work on these cars day in, day out. I mean, we got Austin Hurdle with his 370Z. He was on vacation, got back. He told me how he was just barely getting sleep. He was going to work. He was working on the car. and he's just out here absolutely ripping, having a good time. There he is pulling up right now with that awesome livery. Trying to get more people on the pink livery train.
It's on a T-shirt too. We made some GLTC kind of NASCAR style retro T-shirts, and Austin Hurdle is featured on that. You can get yourself one of those T-shirts down at the GRIDLIFE merch area, down by our paddock area. And of course, we'll get into this Touring Cup broadcast here in just a couple minutes' time. But the Time Attack guys have put all their cars away, it looks like, as we are just a couple minutes away from checkering and heading off to our GLTC event. Which, if you have not seen GRIDLIFE Touring Cup racing, and you're new to this, we're going to show you something really special here, and I really hope you fans get trackside to enjoy something new. If you haven't heard of it, you should, and we're going to show it to you. So get trackside or join us on the YouTube stream on youtube.com/gridlife or twitch.tv/gridlifeofficial and spectate the racing here this afternoon. This is our final race for the day coming up, but we'll race twice tomorrow as well. So 4 races on the weekend. We stack all the points together, and that's how we select our weekend winner and assign championship points in our 7-round championship in 2023, Austin. So the championship fight, it was heating up as the checkered flag falls here on our track battle session, and Jamie Santos just finishing cooling down. And so with that, we'll step away just for a few minutes' time. We'll be back with GRIDLIFE Touring Cup action in just a few minutes.